Cyber awareness training, boring, ineffective, waste of money. Because unfortunately, that's what I think the current state of cyber awareness is.
We spend millions on security, firewalls, software, protocols. But what if the biggest vulnerability isn't in our code, but in our culture? What if the training we rely on is actually making us less safe?
This stranger just walks around our building, walks between the different floors and picks up 13 laptops and walks out. No one asked this person who they were.
Mike Ouwerkerk is a cyber awareness trainer who tests his theories in the real world, sometimes by walking into a client's building unescorted just to prove a point. He argues that our natural human trust is being weaponized, and the only defense is something technology can't provide.
You can teach awareness stuff and rules pretty quick, but you can't teach suspicion quick. People pull guns on me, I always get out of it because I'm just so hyper aware. Most people aren't like that. They're trusting and gullible and helpful.
So how do you build suspicion? And how do you protect your business and your life when the biggest threat looks like a friendly face?
Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Dumb Ways to Get Hacked. Today I have a returning guest, one who actually lives and breathes what he does, which is cyber awareness training. And he doesn't just do a boring video, he actually tests the theories, such as walking into a client site and seeing if he can get to the level he needs without authority, without being escorted, just to prove a point to his clients, which is absolutely hilarious.
Didn't get arrested for that either. It was a bit cheeky, but yeah, like sometimes the opportunity presents itself, right? And you're just like, oh, I'm going to have a crack at that. And I did, and it worked.
Mike, let's dig straight into it. You are a cyber awareness trainer, one that's, I believe, is well known that I use myself for my business. And you mentioned before the podcast that you did a live session last night or sometime this week, sorry.
Yesterday, yeah.
What was the title? What did you say the title was of that?
It was a presentation. There were a few different groups. We did tech stuff and insurance, and I did the cyber awareness part. And my title was Cyber Awareness Training, Boring, Ineffective, Waste of Money. Because unfortunately, that's what I think the current state of cyber awareness is. I think we've utterly failed people as an industry. It's not good. People don't know what they need to know, right? You know that. The knowledge is lacking, hey? So I started off with that, and then I explained why, people don't know what they need to know, and we worked through it and mentioned how they can do things better with what they've got or doing different things.
You argue that the industry's response to the cyber threats are largely by using videos and, their tick the box exercises. Your company trains the staff where you've seen a lot of videos, but you still don't end up knowing the basics. And again, you mentioned this where you go to these awareness training sessions and you ask a few questions and straight away you realize, even though this company's done a year, 2 years of video training, that the reality is that these guys don't actually know anything. Tell us about that.
Hey, I mean, they're using videos, and look, I'd say there are ways of using videos that are more effective than what companies are doing. But one of the first things I do when I go to a company is, you warm up the room as people get in there so they're comfortable to talk. But then you go, hey, you've done awareness training before? And they're like, oh, yeah, I've done stuff. Yeah, we've been doing videos now. Okay, cool. How you going with that? You think you know the stuff? I don't know. Yeah, all right. Oh, let's get through some content and see what you know. And invariably, there's a lot they don't know. And of course, the big one is links. No one knows what to do with links. Don't click on suspicious links. They go, oh, what's a suspicious link? And they're like, oh, I don't know. Well, you can define it, So when I work through that stuff, people don't know this. I'm like, links are the biggest threat companies face, most of the time anyway. So if people don't even know what to do with it, how do you stay safe? So there's a lot they don't know, which is a concern. The basics just aren't out there, and most of what I deliver, I've got different workshops. So what workshop do you want? Where are you guys up to with your knowledge? They go, oh, we probably need base knowledge. I'm like, okay, let's work on that.
I guess base knowledge for those who might not understand might be different from your perspective, because I guess you walk into a place and people are like, oh, I never click on that link. If something comes from this person, I'll never do this or I'll never do that. Yet, interestingly, the number one hack that's happening out there at the moment by big hacking groups is social engineering. And here in Australia, we've obviously been a big part of that with Qantas being compromised, where one of their service call centers were socially engineered. Hackers got in, they tricked these people with, who were trying to be helpful, trying to do the right thing. And 5.7 million bits of information about clients later, Qantas is under the pump now.
It's not so. It's a big problem. The knowledge is just, it's terrible. And it's not just that.
So what do you call basic? Like, what do you, when you go in and you say basic, just to step back a bit, what are you defining as basic? And then, how do you move up from there?
So basic stuff for me is the first thing I normally talk about is, why this stuff matters. But I don't spend too much time on that these days because people kind of get it. I talk about warning signs, because and I wrote a blog post on this, the starting point is how a scam makes you feel, how something makes you feel, because crims try and make you feel a different way, right? They try and make you freak out or feel excited, do that sort of stuff. But then, I work through things like file extensions, you're looking at file extensions, making sure you're always seeing it and does it look a bit strange. And then if you're not sure, don't click on it because it might just hack you anyway. Just all basic, plain English stuff. The links, absolutely. Drilling through links, and that's a big one, right? So, teaching people how to actually read a link properly. You got to hover in that. Then working through stuff like QR codes, because people are still just, take a click, oh, we're off there, and they don't even know where they're going. Short links is an interesting one. Yesterday, when I presented, I asked people, who knows what a short link is? And it was the IT people in the room knew what a short link is. No one else did. Oh, okay. Well, that's the problem, right? Because crims use short links. So links, email safety, but when you've spent a bit of time on file extensions and file types and links, email safety becomes a lot easier. Because especially, you're going to look at the link most of the time. They want you to click on something. So you're like, let's have a look at it. Oh, that's right. That's how we stay safe with that. So suddenly a big problem's gone. Information procedures is a massive one. Like with AI these days, it's massive. Crims will give you bad information or get confidential information for you. So there's very structured ways of dealing with that. It's not difficult. But what it comes down to is your suspicion. Like, it's all cool to say, yeah, I need to check that, but is your brain kicking off with that, saying, oi, that's dodgy? That's what I find. Suspicion needs building up more. And then moving through other stuff like, general website safety, social media, that sort of stuff, and home safety tips, browser tips, that sort of stuff. There's a lot of things people don't know. Passwords still, password management is still terrible. Yeah, long, complex, and unique. Who's got a password? Every password is long, complex, and unique. And well, of course, it's me, the only person in the room that puts their hand up. People just ain't doing it well, using password managers, MFA, that sort of stuff. So yeah, the stuff we all need to be doing. I guess really the stuff I do to stay safe, and the stuff you do to stay safe. The general population still is, they either don't know it or they're not doing it. Which is why I give out checklists and stuff. Yeah, take this home, tick these off,
Yeah, so a core part of your philosophy seems to be about motivation. You've said effectively people don't care about the business being hacked because
IT looks after that.
IT person's problem,
or
right?
IT.
Yeah, IT does that. Yeah, but they care profoundly about if it happens to them or their own time. So how do you bridge that gap in your training? Can you share a story or a moment when you've seen someone or an employee actually realize what you're saying has happened to them or could happen to them and that penny
when
drops?
I start training, and in my fundamentals, one of the first things I say is, this is actually, heavily about home use. So take this home and use it and share it. And it's going to save you a lot of money and time, right? Because crims are coming after us at home too. So they're like, oh, okay. And then the examples that I use, they really kind of relate to home use, right? When I'm teaching people how to read a link, like a hover, I'm talking about a bank, like their bank. And the whole time they're hopefully thinking, hey, I'm going to lose money. One of the things I talk about is fake websites. And it happened with Rabobank, and a crim bought Rabo Hank. and they ran a Google ad, right? And people didn't hover and they just click on it and they go after the fake bank website. And well, you just gave your login details to, the crims. And because they're now logging in, you get a multi-factor challenge. And you go, yeah, it's me, I'm just logging in. And now they passed your multi-factor and you've just lost all the money in your bank. So here's people sitting there doing the training going, oh, crap. That's not good, is it? Cool. They're thinking about it. But yeah, most of what I do, I speak to home use stuff. But I focus on simple rules. If you can give people a core set of rules to keep them safe, that's great. And that all relates to the business. Of course it does. It's all the same thing. It's not like they're going to go to the business and go, oh, stuff it, I forgot about that. No, it's in their brain now. So, it makes both safer, but the motivations, like you say, yeah, it's massive. They've got to be buying. They just don't care about the business. Not usually, anyway. Yeah, the CEO might,
Yeah.
I guess. Hopefully.
I'll just step back. You mentioned before this about suspicion, right? And interestingly, I did see an article by a white hat hacker this week about how when they do various drills and they've got to pretend to be someone else, not just over the phone, but sometimes they've actually to go out and do these exercises in real life. They might need to dress up as a tradie. They might need to do something, see if they can actually con those people. And interestingly, he did say the same thing, that naturally as humans, we have the ability to be suspicious. Like someone might rock up as with a vest on and he's got the safety cap on and he might have the boots, but the guy's got a shirt on, like an office shirt, and he's wearing a pair of nice jeans or pleats, if that's a thing anymore.
Not in the wardrobe, it's not.
Like you kind of
Maybe in yours.
Yeah, no, mate, I follow the trends of an 18-year-old these days, sadly. Anyway, so, it's in our nature to naturally see these things and act accordingly. So why aren't we bringing this into cyber awareness training, as you're saying, that, hey, hold on, this person doesn't send this email, or that's weird, the bank's logo looks a bit more fancy, that's not normal. Or as you said, people type in, Robobank or, whatever the bank is called, and the hackers have paid a lot more money for AdSense. So their ads are actually before the actual bank because it's an advertiser, they're paying for it. And if you're not paying enough attention, that's when you're getting compromised at. And this is why, as you said, I do believe wholeheartedly that it's not something when they do training that's just for themselves. Sorry, just for the office. It's for themselves. It's something that, especially the elderly, that people should take this training and teach to. Like, what have you learned from all this?
Yeah, look, suspicion is massive. And I've even got a workshop for that. I built this probably not too long ago. It's quite new. And it was really just to show people all the scams that are out there, and not even business stuff. It's just real life stuff. Like things like, hey, you go onto Facebook Marketplace and there's something being sold there and you see the photos, what's the scam? And people have to tell me what could go wrong. And then I'm like, well, and often they don't know. I go, hey, look, do you know that people actually pick up images from other places and they just use it as their own? And say I'm selling stuff, they don't even have it. You give them money, you get nothing, right? So I work through stuff like that. That actually proved to be really interesting. It really opened people's eyes up to what's out there, and they don't know a lot of this stuff. One of my favorites is you get overpaid for something. You're selling something on marketplace or something, and it's $100. You get paid $200. They go, oh, so sorry, I overpaid you. Can you just send $100 back to my bank account? I say to the people in the room, what's the scam? They're like, what do I mean? They're like, that's a stolen credit card. That's how they get money back off a stolen credit card, right? They're like, oh, right. So just doing that stuff, going through that stuff, it just opens their eyes. And you're just building that voice in their head. And, unfortunately, I think you can teach awareness stuff and rules pretty quick, but you can't teach suspicion quick. I've got it, man. I'm naturally suspicious, right? I've I've done a lot of backpacking and dodgy places, and I always found that I was really just tuned. I'm just watching for scams, and I've had people pull guns on me and professional pickpocketing gangs and everything, and I'm always just watching. I've had muggings, and I always get out of it because I'm just so hyper aware. It's good for me, but most people aren't like that. They're trusting and gullible and helpful. I think we just have to. It's good. It's good personality traits, but we kind of got to temper that a bit. You've got to be thinking more, and it's hard, yeah, to build that.
Yeah, we did that episode last week where we created a with Mix Not Secure, the fake call, just to give people an idea of how simple it is. It's all about that urgency. It's all about
Yeah,
technical jargon that's overwhelming, but giving the right names, sounding like legit as possible to minimize the suspicion. Like the hackers are obviously onto this, and it's natural instinct, as you said. Like you're out and about somewhere, you know, I might be in the city and I'm just kind of watching what's going on and seeing if someone's acting suspicious for no apparent reason, you know, or you see this person standing there, you know, they're going to want that eye contact because they're going to ask you for a cigarette or for something, which is going to lead to
yeah,
something else. So yeah, look, it's innate, it's built into us. It's just, I guess, as when we were kids, there was that we used to get told be street smart, as in, you know, this is the kind of thing you shouldn't fall for. In our current modern day, I guess it's you need to be cyber smart is the version of that, and that applies for not just kids like it was for us in our time. Like, you know, the man coming in saying he's candy. You know, the joke we have is, you know, in cyber awareness is these days it's the man saying I've got free Wi-Fi, and you know, I actually don't believe kids would fall for it. I think adults will actually
yeah,
be more
yeah,
gullible to
yeah.
that these days. But
It's funny though, because kids,
that's what it is.
kids are an interesting one
Yeah,
because they're growing up with the tech and they probably think they're bit more savvy than they are. You know, like, you know, I've got a
yeah,
family, and you know, I ask my kids, "You think you're good at this stuff?" Look, my son is. He's pretty good. I teach him, and then my other kid, you know, "You good at this?" Yeah, yeah, yeah. Cool. Okay. What's the domain name? She's like, "What? What do I need to know that for?" I'm like, "Well, how do you know what you're clicking on? How do you know where you're going?" "Oh, yeah, it's okay. You know, I just know." I'm like, "Okay." Right, you probably don't. She's on the guest Wi-Fi, isolated. It doesn't get on. Both of them are, to
that's
be
right.
fair.
Yeah, she's on my IoT. You know, you have no access to
Yeah,
this network. I
100%.
agree.
But yeah, it's interesting. There's a mix of knowledge out there. But yeah, like we said, the basics are just missing for a lot of people. And that is an issue for companies and home safety. It's not good.
the The last time we spoke, you were very passionate about the people being or businesses having that blame game and calling their staff the
Uh,
weakest link. And, you know, the idea is to, you know, start off by saying it's a
Yep.
vulnerability, it's not a link. And the reality is they're only as good as what
Yeah,
you
for sure.
train
Yeah.
them for. So since then, have you seen that change come through, or do you think it's the same or it's
It's
worse?
not something that's going to change in a hurry. I mean, some companies are good with it. Some companies are, you know, really nurturing and, oh, I got tricked, and don't worry about it. You know, I've seen that. That's great. You know, the end result is you've got to get people comfortable to report, you know, and ask for help. If you don't have that, good luck. And I think that, you know, of course that
Hmm.
drives from the top, but that needs to be communicated so clearly to everyone. If you're doing awareness, which you should be, just say to people, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to get tricked. It's not your fault. You know, it's kind of our fault. We didn't train you properly, maybe. Yeah, we'll give you support. It's not a punishment. That's so critical to get clear right at the start. And it's just a mix. Some companies do it well. Some companies don't. You know, we're doing phishing testing. You clicked on the link. We're going to send you some more boring training that says don't click on suspicious links. You know, oh god, that's not great. It's got to be like, for me, you know, if you've got a group of clickers, right? Give them a really good face-to-face on-site session. Give them a nice lunch. You know, make it part of it. Make it cool. Make it like a reward. You know, hey guys, we're going to give you
Hmm.
some really cool training. We're going to give you lunch. You know, it's going to be good. You get a lot of information for how to stay safer at home. Of course, at work. We just feel like, you know, you need a little bit more help with this stuff, and it'll be good for you, right? You know, that's quite different to, damn it, you clicked on that link, go and do some shitty training. Ways of doing things. So there's still a total mix out there.
So, talking about your methods, then you do run a gamified shop where you show people real life scams and they have to explain how they work, as you mentioned, to win a chocolate, which is really interesting because
A
that would
bag of
definitely get
chocolate.
my
I usually
attention.
give
I
a
can tell you
bag of
now.
chocolate.
A bag of chocolate. What happens in the room when people's eyes are opened up to those scams that they face daily? Is the goal learning, or is it a
Yeah,
more
it's an
awakening.
awakening. It's just like, hey, there's a lot more out there than you realize. It's everywhere. It's not just work. Just yeah, build that voice. I don't ever give the chocolates. I don't ever say I'm giving the chocolates out at the start, by the way, because then people are going to cheat because they're keeping their own score. So it's at the end. I go, who got the best score? But no, I've had crazy feedback on that, like from IT people that did it as well. And they just go, geez, that was really eye opening, you know. I didn't even know most of that stuff. It's just good to see. So you've got to knock them out of their slumber a little bit, unfortunately. And the crims are always
Mm.
adapting, you know. They're always targeting people in different ways. The beauty of it is I can just add in different schemes as I go.
You use short 1 minute
Yeah.
videos, but only as a follow up to your live training,
Mhm.
suggesting they be watched in
Yeah.
staff meetings. It seems you're not completely
No.
anti video, but you're anti impersonal videos. So, why does that small change, watching it together and discussing it for 1 or 2 minutes even, make such a big difference
Yeah.
to a
The
business?
videos, I mean, that's the market, right? I'm not scalable. I can only do so much. So, of course, we need these videos. But I know there's so many people I speak to, they go, oh, so how you going with your videos? Bit boring, don't really watch it. I've had people say to me, well, you know, the videos come on and I know it's tracked in the learning management system, but I fire it up and then I go and make a coffee. I'm like, oh, God. It's terrible, right? So, yeah, I do have reminder videos. I've got a library of about 60 of them. And you know, I've made these things the bare minimum, like 1 minute, just give you the information. There's no fluff. It's just get through it quick. But for me, I'll always say to them, just don't expect people to watch them. If you could, the only thing I suggest is use them at staff meetings. And you're talking about stuff. Cool. Here's our video for the week. Let's watch it. Someone tells a story. Oh yeah, that's right. I got scammed with that. Oh great, you know, and that makes it real, and just cements it in people's brains. For me, if you're going to do videos like that, just try and get it so people have to watch it. Unfortunately, even if they're boring, just make it so that people have to watch it. And you just chat it and chat about it. And, you know, the main talking points of that are blah, blah, blah. Great. That's probably a lot more effective. That's all I suggest with my videos.
All right, I want to address the elephant in the room with your approach. You've said it yourself. People like me are few and far between. We're
Yeah.
not scalable. So how do you wrestle with that? Is your goal to train more trainers or to persuade leaders to adopt your philosophy and find their own way to implement it even
Yeah, look, if
in-house?
they've got good people that can do this stuff, of course. Like, you know, I mean, it's pretty well known that face-to-face training gets better results. So if you're a big company, I mean, they'll
Mm,
often get their own person to do it. I think the challenge is finding a person that's good at it because it's a weird set of skills. Like, I've come from, you know, IT background and then consulting and management and then did some training stuff because I had a fear of public speaking. That's pretty bizarre. And then got into like, you know, my clients getting hacked. I'm like, well, what are you clicking on there? So for me, it was, and I did project management and I'm happy talking to, you know, all levels of companies. So for me, it was a nice sort of way of getting into it. And I'm cheeky, right? I like having fun. I crack a lot of jokes and it just worked really well for me. There are people that have a go at this that maybe are not as engaging. That's okay. It's probably still better than doing nothing. Oh, of course, it's better than doing nothing. But I think getting the content right is one thing, like getting the information and getting the flow right and delivering it in the right way and making it fun and
mm,
making it engaging.
mm.
It's got to be a result where people go, hey, that was good. I learned from it. You don't want to alienate people. But if companies can do it themselves, go for it. Yeah, the scalability thing is a problem. Like for me, do I want to grow my company and get more people? I don't know. I'm kind of happy chugging away myself because I know the quality of my work, you know. So yeah, it's a challenge that we're not scalable. That's why the videos are there.
So finally, if I'm a business
Yeah,
owner right now and I'm listening to this and I'm thinking to myself, man, to be honest, these training sessions that we're doing are kind of boring, and they are. The reality is they are just a tick box exercise. I don't even know if my staff are doing this
mm.
or ignoring this. What's the first step, the simple steps I can take tomorrow to start gauging the true cyber culture into
But
my
you got to measure,
organization?
right? You got to measure. Like if you're doing stuff, you got to measure to know what you're up to. So a lot of companies will do some basic stuff, and I know companies do this phishing testing, which I'm not a massive fan of, but I get it. It's the measurement, but don't rely on click rate. Click rate. Okay, well, we got 3% of people that clicked on it. Yeah, but how many people didn't even read the email? You know, what does it actually mean? So reporting rate is probably a better one, because if 100% of people reported it, well, wow, you're nailing it, right? That's great. Um, yeah, and doing things like short quizzes or gamified, like I do. It's not hard to do stuff like that. Do some gamified stuff, or you get some rewards at the end, quizzes and games and stuff, and measure knowledge. Like I've got a quiz that is actually based on what I teach in the fundamentals workshop, and you get it as 100 points on offer. People like to showcase their knowledge. They're like, hey, look at me, I'm good at this. Cool, get into it. And then at the end, you get a score, and it's very granular. You go, wow, you're really good at this stuff, but maybe not so good at that stuff. Maybe we'll give you a bit more help there, and you can get a picture for your overall company. And even like you mentioned, like culture, I think, you can try and assess culture, like people's attitudes. What do you think about this? What do you think about, how we're doing it as a company? And what are your thoughts about crims and how they're targeting? You can structure stuff like that. Just measure. There's tons of metrics. It's what you can actually measure. But it's if you're not measuring, how do if you're improving or not? So where are you now? Where do you want to get to? And just try and get there.
So, as you know, as we mentioned at the start of the podcast, that social engineering is hitting the charts as the number one album at the moment
Yeah.
across the hacking community. Do you want to step through a social engineering hack how easy it actually is?
Look, yeah, totally. I'll give you a real life one. When I was in Queensland government, team manager, we had someone a crim, who likely socially engineered one of our staff and managed to walk into the building behind this person. Now, we were a small team, a IT team, so there was like 3 or 4 of us in total. This stranger, just walks around our building, walks between the different floors, and picks up 13 laptops and walks out. And probably acted quite confident. Now, people knew who was in IT, and no one asked this person who they were, with a pile of laptops walking around, and then they went down the lift into their car and took off. That's insane. Now, this person just walking around with confidence, right? Like they're meant to be there. And I did it once. I had a client, there's another one of these dodgy stories. I had a client that I was training, and I turned up, and the reception was to the left, and I went and checked in at reception, and yeah, all cool, we're kicking off in half an hour. I said, do you mind if I go for a walk upstairs? She goes, okay, all right, that's all cool. So I just went and walked upstairs. Now, no one knew who I was. And I made a point of walking past every single person's desk. And people are looking at me, and they're like, and I go, morning. And I go, oh, good morning. And I just, anyone that gave me a weird look, I just said hello. No one asked me who I was. Again, no one. It's insane. This is human nature. People just are a bit shy or nervous, or they don't have the confidence to say something. It's so easy to manipulate people. It's just insane. But the old laptop one,
Yes.
that's a bit of a crowd pleaser, right? I've trained companies. I've said the same thing. I go, yeah, someone just tricked one of our people, walked in with them, picked up laptops and walked out. It's insane. I don't get it.
How cool would it be if you did it like a magic trick and you had like just something sitting under a cloth? Because you know that mystery of people when they see a box and there's a cloth over it, it racks their
Yeah.
brains for so long. So your trick would be to do that to a company and then say, have you guys been wondering what's under this box after you just mentioned that little story? Flip and there's that
Yeah.
person's
I mean,
laptop.
one of the things I always do when I go to train is I take a USB key. Now I've got it here somewhere. Here's my old mate. Here's my keyboard. That's a keyboard.
Yeah.
These things, right? They start typing, they download and
Yep.
install dodgy software. I've got this, which I show, but whenever I train a company, I take a USB key with a file on it, and I say, hey, could you plug this in for me? I forgot to print something out. Everyone prints it out. I've only had one company that didn't print it out. And then I get to the part talking about USB keys and go, what's that? They go, USB key. No, it's a keyboard. I'm like, I'm not giving them the dodgy one, but that's social engineering. What if someone comes in off the street and goes, hey, look, I've got the proposal here for you guys. It's a big quote, big job of work. You're able to print this out and give it to so-and-so. They've done some research. Plug it in, starts typing, fires up PowerShell or something. Maybe it finds a way in. It's just insane.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, awareness training isn't something that should ever be a once off, once a year, quarterly. It should be actually a part of the culture of the business, suspicion before even the level of, awareness, really. Like, use your own human nature, what's built into you. Like, so someone's called you or someone's walked into the building that you've never seen before. Hey, can I help you? You know, how can I help you? And
Please check in at reception.
the idea to that,
Have you checked in at reception?
yeah, the idea to that, and it's a battle that I face every day because, I do T and cyber for many businesses, and we can put all the best technology in place. Like, I can do, screen testing, I can put, lock doors, I can fortify your building. But the second you let in the guy who claims to be the pizza guy or the delivery guy or someone who knows there's a presentation happening and you've let them into the building, my technology is useless. It's meant nothing. So,
power on.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. And so, so it's all hand in hand, isn't it? The reality is that you need both the technology as well as the awareness from the staff. I'd debate that the awareness and the staff is probably in my mind, would be more important directly to the business. But, you need both. What are your final thoughts on that?
People, process, technology. People are probably the biggest component. If you got good, because there's always ways of getting past the tech, and processes fail, and processes driven by people. So people are important. You got to train them up. You got to help them. You got to support them and remove that vulnerability. Yeah, if you're not doing that, you're going to get in a bit of grief, aren't you?
Absolutely. Michael, I thank you again for your time, for being so vocal on the networks about why cyber awareness training is actually something that's the most important for any business. You're continually doing your best to give that information out there across all these networks. If anyone wants to reach out to you or wants cyber awareness training, how can they do that?
I'm on LinkedIn. Just look for Ouwerkerk or WebSafe Staff, the website, safestaff.com.au.
Excellent. Thank you again for
Thanks,
your time,
Bora.
Mike.
Always a pleasure to do podcasts with you, mate. Love it.